When I think of home, I think of the little thatched house I was born in the west of Ireland. I left home because I didn't get along with my dad. That's natural to be forced out of the nest, just like the grizzly bear beats up her cubs, send them away, give them a good beating, and then he won't follow her around anymore, And our nature is the same, to be ousted out of the nest, but with all the infrastructure and all the industrial whatever makes us so that we don't have to grow up, we don't have to go it on our own and whatever. We've lost that concept of manhood and growing up and all that somehow, This is the most at home I feel any place since I left the place I was born. So this is where I decided in the world to settle down. Back then I never thought I'd ever settle down, that I'd always be a traveler. And when I come here, I kind of grew into the place, and my daughter was born here in the Kootenays, so that's probably the reason that it made it home for me. When I hit my mid-40s, I decided, this work that I'm doing is totally meaningless to me, going out there and putting 3 bags on and making a bunch of money, and any amount of it, I got so that this is just playing figures for the government, that it's not very effective, and it justifies cutting down more forests. So I decided I'm going to try not to have to do this, and that's when I decided to farm. It felt like overwhelming, and wondering if I could do it or not. And then, my horses are untrained, and I have the only experience I've had with horses up to that was my childhood of mare watching. I didn't really have to take any of it seriously or anything like that. But I remember thinking, riding around in a tractor in southern Ontario, thinking I'm not going to do this in my life ever again. So maybe that was some inclination of that to actually, because I remember fondly my childhood of, the horses and cattle and all that way of doing stuff, and watching horses and carts going down the road, and how it was done then. And I'm less extreme now. Like, I've come around to more technological stuff, but then I wasn't. This is the way I wanted to do it. And so I had horses to train and harnesses to figure out and machinery to fix and so on. So it was pretty overwhelming. When we look at the past, we see the good parts of it, And I'm telling you, the good parts. And I have spent a lot of my time in them good years where I was depressed about stuff and thought too much about what's happened to the world and so on, and believing in and realizing that I'm helpless. If I don't have a tree planting job, what am I going to do? I'm getting too old for it, and I don't believe in it. So when I started growing food, I come to realize that this is really important, to feed my family and my friends and people around me, and that over the years it become an issue, a really important. It could become more important the longer I did, and I have a better understanding of what's really happening, and how, and the whole idea that we have given up our power to do stuff. If you go and work in a automobile factory and you put 4 bolts in a radiator, and that's all you know how to do, and you have you're dependent on being in a certain way with your superiors, otherwise you lose your job. You can't be real. If you if you have a mortgage, you have to say and do things that you don't want to do. And if you know somebody that has in that form, it limits a whole lot of things about you, you know. And if you want to do other stuff, then you have to have exert. You have to have the willpower or whatever it takes to not go home and watch TV and drink beer, but do other stuff to give you like a life, right? Somehow I've never been really big in doing stuff for myself, and it has to be bigger than myself, you know, whatever. If I have to have a motive for what I do, otherwise I'm totally lazy. If it's to take care of my own needs and I'm totally lazy. Even fixing my hands, I let things go too far before I'm not motivated that way. So what motivates me is working with other people, but it has to be not just, it has to have some meaning to it. We have to have our heroes, and we have to have you see the good in humans, eh? And that's the way I find the good in humans, the people I work with. I find out who they are and what they're made of. And I might seem harsh on people and hard on people, and I am, and I'm never going to be different. Because I demand your attention. You know, this isn't something that you might play at, you know, because I don't play at it, you know. I got run over with my horses and smashed up, and I got up and I kept doing it, yeah. So it's, to me, life is do or die, and then you're living.